And more coming up after the break. It doesn't matter how tough things get, you're still going to eat. So what's the true state of Australia's food industry? It is great to have your company here on Business Now. Well, the Australian food industry collectively is said to be worth around $239 billion a year. So it's a massive chunk of our total economy. Now, even if you don't eat out, you still eat. If you're in a nursing home, if you're in the military, a mining camp, you eat. So food should be the least impervious to economic change. But within the food industry, there are multiple subsectors, and that's where you'll see the impact of inflation and higher interest rates. Well, Sissel Rosengren, who I've known for a long time from Food Industry Foresight, is considered one of Australia's leading analysts on the food industry and joins me now. Sissel, always good to chat to you about this. So a lot of celebrity chefs, a lot of people say this is the worst that the food industry has ever seen. Is that true?
No, it's actually not true. It's not what the data shows. And basically, when we talk about the hospitality market, the commercial outlets, the food service market, we have recovered fully as we started 2024. So we're back to the same levels in terms of eating out, in terms of turnover of the commercial market as we had in 2019.
Okay, is there a warning sign here though? We know that discretionary spending is under pressure. We know that some aspects of that food services industry is going to be under some pressure right now. But as we point out, that's not the whole picture of the industry, is it?
That's correct. And yes, certainly there are pressures, and they have gone through an enormously tumultuous time. And there have been lingering problems or challenges, if you like. However, nothing is different now as we are in 2024 than what it was prior to the pandemic. When we went into the pandemic, we already had a soft economy. And as you say, the food service market or eating out is affected by, other cost pressures personally, etc., because it's discretionary spending.
Yes.
But we are back. We are really back. And, you see it in the data, you see it in terms of the restaurants, the cafes, the pubs, the clubs, the QSR independents. QSR chains are declining now, but equally function caterers, etc. And Australians have truly made eating out a way of life over the last 3 decades.
Okay, so you make one observation that Australians are amongst the highest when it comes to eating out. I think you say it's more than 36% of the money that we spend on food is actually spent out of home. Now, that's a big proportion. So it says something about Australians and their habits, doesn't it?
It does. And Australia has one of the highest propensities to eat out among the Western world, in the Western world. People in Asia eat out a lot more in terms of their percentage of total food and non-alcoholic beverage budget. But and that has formed the food service market in Australia. And we love eating out in our independent cafes, our local club, our local pub, etc. We're not a chain market, like, for example, the US and the UK. So we have a fantastic culture and food culture in that sense in Australia.
But that said, the tax office is now doing the job, and we know this, that they were supposed to do, which they put on hiatus during the COVID period where companies didn't go broke. Now companies are going broke as the tax office chases its debts. But there are businesses that do go broke. Independent restaurants, cafes do go broke. But what you're saying is this is actually reverting back to the pre-COVID levels rather than being something extraordinary.
Exactly. That's really spot on what you're saying there, is that we're back at the point where, you've have the same challenges, etc., as you did have prior to COVID. But as I've always said, a food service market and the buoyancy of a food service market is really the sum total of the psyche of a nation in terms of how we want to eat out.
So the real challenge for them right now, though, with families struggling with discretionary money, is value for money. That's got to be the real key for them, doesn't it?
It's absolutely value for money, but it has sort of been that all along, if you like. The Australian food service consumer has become very discerning, but in a very positive way, in terms of loving to eat out with family and friends, etc. And yes, there are, of course, a lot of people who are challenged at the moment and with cost of living, mortgage rates and so on. But we should not forget there is also a very large cohort out there with a lot of money who's actually living as they always used to. And this has always been the case in the food service market.
Tell you what, Sissel Rosengren, always good to chat to you. Food Industry Foresight, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, just to finish up now, and let's go with the idea of who would spend $1,000 on a virtual spaceship.